So for me, residency was 17 million times better than dental school. To get your foot in the door, it's numbers. And then once you get past that,
Everyone, welcome back to Through the Wire podcast. My guest today is Dr. Corey Stein. He is a senior orthodontic resident at Eastman Institute for Oral Health at the University of Rochester, and he will be graduating as an orthodontist in less than a month. So congratulations to you, Corey. Thank you so much for joining us today. And if you're interested in orthodontics, this video is for you. Now let's get on with the podcast. Thank you so much, Corey, for joining me today. I first met Corey at Eastman. He's a current orthodontic resident, but by the time you watch this video, he'll be graduated and he will be an orthodontist in less than a month from the time of this recording. So I'm going to let Corey introduce himself. Just tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your dental journey and where you are in that process.
yeah, thanks for having me, Erica. First of all, 5 weeks left. So yeah, because I'm counting down the days. Although I love it at Eastman and Rochester, New York, but doing 10 straight years of school, you can imagine you're happy to be done. But I'm an upstate New Yorker, as you know. I'm originally from Syracuse, and I decided to stay in New York State for undergrad. I went to a SUNY school, if you've ever heard of it.
Mm-hmm.
I know you're California, so I know they have like some, but you have like USC. Those are like the big, you know
We
what I mean,
have
right?
in California, we have the UC system. So like UCLA, UC Santa Cruz is where I went to undergrad. I think that's
Yeah.
equivalent to the SUNY system in New
Yeah.
York.
Yeah. So Geneseo, it's actually funny. We have a lot of faculty and random people that went to undergrad at Geneseo. It's a really small school. I think it's like 2,000 to 3,000 people there. But it seems like a very like a lot of biology people, and they go off to medical school or dental school. So I have a lot of people that I went to college with that went to dental school with me at Buffalo, so an hour away. So I went to Buffalo and then stayed even more local again in Rochester. I always laugh with my friends because I kind of did the trifecta of upstate New York. And I didn't really intend for it to be that way. Like I didn't like say, Corey, I want to stay in upstate New York. It just kind of like how it all plays out like the whole it's wherever you get kind of the best deal, and that's kind of how it worked out for me.
Yeah, nice. Thank you for sharing. So
Yeah.
you said it kind of just worked out that way. So did you apply to places outside of New York State or
Yeah.
most? Okay. Okay, so it
Well,
could have worked out somewhere else.
my experience like with dental school was that I applied to like I don't know, like 12 programs, and most of my interviews were in New York State. I don't know how it like where I feel like they like the New York places like New York people, like certain states like certain people, but I had interviews with like NYU, I think Buffalo. I don't remember NYU, maybe NYU, but Buffalo, Stony Brook, those kind of ones. And I got accepted at both Buffalo and Stony Brook, and I was 50-50 on which with each one. Stony Brook was smaller, which I kind of liked. But actually, my dad is a dentist as well, so he went to Buffalo, and he was a big advocate for going to Buffalo. So that was kind of how it worked out there. And financially, I think it was a little bit cheaper because Long Island and New York are like very expensive to live, and upstate New York, it's a little bit cheaper. So that
Okay.
was kind of the logic.
When you graduated from Buffalo, did your dad get to hood you? Did
Yeah,
they
he
do
did.
that?
He did hood me. He did. Yep, that was
Okay.
fun.
That's really special.
Yeah, yeah, we have a photo of it. It's funny when they hood you. One of my best friends, like he got hooded by his father, and he like kind of like pushed his face, like and almost like tripped him. So me and my dad had a good exchange, luckily.
Aw.
Getting hooded, yeah.
Okay. So I know your dad is an endodontist. So what originally made you decide you wanted to do orthodontics? Did someone inspire you? Did you ever want to do endodontics because of your dad?
Well, it's
And
so funny.
what led you to ortho, basically?
Yeah, thanks for asking that. I mean, it's so funny because I wish my my classmates from dental school could watch this interview right now because they would be making fun of me left and right, to be honest with you, because I came in and I liked oral surgery from the jump. I don't know, I liked studying like the medical stuff better. then like my initial hand skills maybe weren't as good and then I considered endo. I didn't love it. Like when I started doing it actually in clinic, like I only did a handful, but it really wasn't for me. I could tell right away. And then ortho, I kind of actually it's funny. Ortho at Buffalo, ortho is in the same clinic as endo. So I was shadowing endo. Sorry. And I ended up in the ortho clinic shadowing ortho. And I was kind of like a math guy. I was a biology major, but I was also like a math minor, whatever. And when they started going and they were starting talking about like class two elastics or something, they're talking about vectors, and I was like, wow, this is interesting. This might be up my alley. And then I kept doing it, and I liked it.
Early on in dental school, you wanted to do oral surgery. Around what time during dental school did you decide?
Actually, I was a third year person that started deciding I wanted to do ortho, which was
Okay.
kind of late in the game, I would say, and without doing a gap year.
Hmm.
Because like a lot of people do like a gap year, they do like an AGD, which by the way, I think is like, I mean, I think you could talk about that. I mean, I think most people honestly recommend that. I mean, there's so much stuff with that that's so good for ortho. Like, we talk about implants all the time. We talk about stuff like that where like your knowledge is so much more if you do AGD first. So, but for me, in my third year, I was doing an extraction, and I just remember I fractured the molar, and it turned into a surgical extraction, and then the surgeon had to like remove bone, and I was like, and they like laid a flap, and I'm like, oh God, like this is my day to day. If I'm like an oral surgeon, I don't know if I'm cut out for this.
Well, it's good
Yeah,
that you discovered that
yeah,
because
yeah.
what if you did go to oral surgery and
I
then you
think it's
realize that later?
It's like the same thing with endo. It's like like easy endos or easy extractions are fun, but then like it's like it's like, doing endo through crowns or like off axis or like surgery like third molar. Like I don't know about all that. But I'm
Yeah.
very happy with ortho. Ortho is like I'm in love with it, so as you
Well,
know.
well, congrats for getting in, first of all, and then you're
Thank you.
going to graduate very soon. What would you
Yep.
say is like the secret sauce for getting into ortho residency? Do you think there's something that from your application that made you stand out? What advice would you give to other students in dental school that are interested in specializing in ortho?
It's such a game. Like I've always said that, like it feels like a game to me. And like, for me, so it depends. Like if you can think really long term as like a young, even like college student, like you're gonna set yourself up better for the future. Like for example, like I went to Buffalo Dental School. We had a rank in our class, and the second you add ranks, that matters.
Hmm.
So like you have to do well ranking wise to get in ortho. But if you get into like for me, like remember I'm East Coast, so it's hard for me to compare to like the West Coast schools, but like Columbia, Harvard, like those are like the Ivies, and like people don't think about them as much for dental school, but those schools like produce like a lot of oral surgeons, a lot of orthodontists, and they're pass fail. And so
Mm.
so they make your life better if you go to a pass fail school and then you kind of use their name to help you get into. That's true.
I didn't think about that. I thought it would be the
Yeah.
opposite. I thought it's one less thing they have to measure you from if you don't have a GPA.
So we have you should maybe you should interview one of our first years next, who went to Columbia, and she said like I don't know, like three-quarters of her class specialized. So at Buffalo, like less than half specialized, like maybe
Okay.
like 25%. Her class, it was like more than like 50 to like 75% did it. And like every person got ortho interviews, every person got like oral surgery. And like granted, there's other things that they have to
Hmm.
do, but like I think like, and if you're top 10 in your class at Buffalo, I mean, you're gonna get interviews everywhere, but it's obviously very hard to, you got to put a lot of time in, and maybe like pass fail might be a little bit better, like stress wise.
So going to
Yeah.
a school that has a very good reputation or very good name, but you also have
Yeah.
to get a really good rank there as well. Because if they don't have a GPA, she probably also was
Yeah.
ranked.
So but they don't have rank, I don't think. or maybe they have an internal rank, but I don't think they like submit it or anything. I really think
Hmm.
like you have to have a good resume, you do your outside stuff. The GRE is important too. Like, I mean, I don't think it's make or break. For me, I think they're looking for people that are well-rounded. I think orthodontists in general are well-rounded and like they want to see you did some sort of research. Ortho is very different with like some programs are heavy into research. Erica, as you know, and you've published, I think, a couple times now. Humble brag. Uh,
Yeah.
but at Eastman, we love research. So that's big. But like there's other hospital-based programs in New York State. There's like Montefiore. I think there's a couple others that are research maybe isn't as emphasized and maybe you can get away with doing less. I think doing research is important and maybe like some extracurricular stuff is, yeah.
And grades, it seems like as well.
Grades unfortunately matter. Like it stinks, but a lot of people want to be
But it's
orthodontists.
true.
Yeah, it's so true. To get your foot in the door, it's numbers, and then once you get past that, then it's personality. And I do think that like just being yourself is the best advice there because they're really trying to get to know you. And my ortho interviewing experience is that like residents have a say as well. And so like always like don't let your guard down in front of other residents and just be yourself and hopefully they like you and then hopefully it works out.
Okay, well, thank you for that advice. So,
Yeah.
how was residency compared to dental school? And was residency what you expected it to be? How was like the studying in residency compared to dental school, clinic, and your overall experience?
So for me, residency was 17 million times better than dental school. In terms of like mental happiness, I'd say mental happiness because first of all, I love ortho. So like studying ortho is so easy for me. Like, I mean, I love reading like and it's not just me. I mean, I hope other people too. It's not like I'm reading the AJODO every 30 seconds that it comes out, but like when there's like a really good like clinical tip or like there's like a paper that's like about a new technology, like I'm reading it. So like I love doing that. So for me, studying's a lot better. I would say my day to day is busier with patients, which I kind of like. It makes the day go faster. You still have your headaches, you have parents that can be annoying sometimes to say the least, but they're all, at the end of the day, it's very rewarding. So I love it. Dental school was not as fun. The studying the tests, like you would take removable class, like prosthesis class, and you're like, this isn't for me. You know what I mean? And
You
then
knew you
ortho,
weren't going to use it in the future. Like
a
you know that
hundred
you're going to
percent.
use ortho in the future.
Yeah. And most of my friends that say, I mean, you could also attest to this, but most people like that talk about like removable in dental school, like they make it way harder. And then you get to AGD or you get to GPR and like it's so much easier and like you actually understand it and people don't hate it when you get to
Hmm.
that point in time. I don't know.
Okay. So now that you're finishing up with residency and you had to look for jobs, how was your experience with finding your first job? When did you start looking and when would you recommend to start looking? And can you just talk about your experience looking for a job as an orthodontist?
So I would definitely start looking like I would focus when you get to residency on learning orthodontics like because remember it's like a new language like focus on that but it's never too early to network and it's never too early to like have conversations and the job market is very different than other professions. Like for example, like finding jobs in cities like where, my brother and sister work in the financial world, New York, Boston, all those places are big, LA, those are big hubs for jobs. And it seems like my experience is that the more rural areas are actually the ones that are hiring. Like
Hmm.
Watertown, New York, or Ithaca, or place Syracuse, Rochester, Buffalo, like all those places, the suburbs of those areas, there's jobs available, and then in the more just like cities, sometimes it's difficult. So you really have to do yourself a favor and network as early as possible, I would say.
I know you found a job, so congratulations on that.
Okay.
Can you speak a little bit about how orthodontists are paid and the different types of pay schedules that you were exposed to? Like, for example, is it a salary, a daily rate, um,
Yeah.
hourly? Because I know that differs from general dentists.
It's so
You told me
funny.
a little bit about this already.
Yeah, I mean, there's still so much that I don't know. Like, you can be hired as an associate doctor. You can be hired as, what's it called? An independent contractor. Like, there's a lot of different things. Or obviously, you can have ownership. So, with the independent contractor route, I'm not as familiar with that. And for salary, I haven't heard a lot of people doing salary. For ortho, I think for the most part, it's hard to do production-based contracts because it's like, if you and another orthodontist are there, who's starting the case? Like, is it the person that like did the consultation? Like, but what if you both see them? So like it's kind of hard to measure production. My salary is a per diem, so and I think that's the standard. Like every clinical day that I'm working, I get paid, which is
Okay.
nice.
And if the patients show up or don't show up, you get paid the same. It's for being there for
Yeah.
the day. Okay.
Yeah. But I mean the patient, there's a lot of patients on the schedule, so I'm sure I'll see some patients, hopefully.
Yes. Okay. Can you share your experience a little bit about negotiating a job contract? Like, what was your experience with hiring a lawyer? Would you recommend one? Did you use one?
So yeah, I used one. I used somebody that my dad recommended. You could go through the AAO. There's a couple people through that like the AAO actually recommends as well.
Hmm.
Lawyers are expensive. That's something, you can kind of assume, but I didn't really know. I had people paying, I know people that paid like 700, $800 for a lawyer. Some people are like 400, 500 an hour for and if you some people are every session you do with the lawyer, you have to you pay
Mm-hmm.
money. So, and if you have another question, like that question like is money. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So, luckily I was connected with my dad's kind of like friend, and I think that like when you do something like that, it's nice because you know that they're not just like money hungry. Like it's more like they're looking out for your best interests as well, and they might. And like I felt like I got really good advice on like when not to push
Mm-hmm.
because I have heard of people, more specifically in pediatrics, but who asked for too much, and then they say the person offering the contract says, "I'm out. I'm done. I'm not doing this." So you
Mm-hmm.
got my experience is like you can't just like ask for more money because that makes you look like you're spoiled. And for me, I was really about like trying to get all like, health insurance covered, which obviously costs money if it's not. And for some reason, not all ortho jobs cover health insurance. That's something I didn't know.
Hmm. Is it
But
because it's most jobs are part-time or they
yeah,
just don't?
I don't honestly, I don't have the answer for you on that. But I've spoken to a lot of people, a lot of doctors that are hiring, and health insurance often is not covered. Some places do, like it seems like it's a split, but it's not like a universal thing. And then with disability, a lot of them don't pay for it, especially if you work for multiple offices, because
Hmm.
then they don't want you to be covered when you work at a different office.
And I have
Yeah.
heard that it could be common to work for multiple offices.
Yeah, it is common. Yeah, it seems like every person that I talk to, unless you get into ownership, that's a whole other topic conversation, and like ownership is great. Or starting your own, power to you if you start your own. I
Yeah.
want to consider that in the future, but I want to get my maybe learn a little bit more about ortho and then more about the business side as I start working. But
Okay. Speaking about practice ownership, I wanted to go into that a little bit more. What are your
yeah,
thoughts about OSOs, which I
yeah.
think are similar to DSOs versus owning your own practice? It seems like you've looked into a little bit about owning your practice, but you're going to save it for the future. Did you look
Yeah.
into OSOs and do you have any opinions
Yeah.
on pros and cons to them?
OSOs, just when you get out, the OSOs are the ones that are kind of recruiting and marketing to everybody more easily. And like when you start looking based on location, a lot of the OSOs, pop up sooner than later. And I think OSOs are great. I think there's pros and cons, right? I think that a lot of the time your day to day is busier Usually your initial, this is not talking about ownership, this is more just associate. Your contracts are a little bit higher, I would say, at first, but getting ownership is something that is a little bit more difficult. I mean, there are OSOs that you can get partnered into, and every OSO has a completely different like internal business structure that I don't know and I can't give like information on basically, but
Hmm.
you can get partnered in. Sometimes there's like a buy-in that you have to drop and then you gain more your salary or like your per diems and stuff increase as well. But the OSOs always have a certain amount of your actual like what you collect is going to the OSO. And
Okay.
they help with certain things as well, yeah.
So it seems like there's financial benefits for someone just starting off, and there's more opportunities with OSOs.
I mean, I think it's funny because I was talking to one of my faculty members, and he when he first started working, he was getting paid less. He was in the private world, he was getting paid less. But then long term, when he got ownership, he was making a lot more because he got ownership of the private. And private's nice because they don't collect a fee from what you're making. Yeah, I mean, I think both are great options. I just think with the OSOs tend to be a little bit busier on a day-to-day basis. And like with the private world, you might be able to dictate things like your schedule a little bit more easily.
Yeah. So I know you're doing it step by step, like you're focusing on learning orthodontics in the real world first. But have you thought about potentially owning a practice in the future?
Yeah. So I definitely want to have ownership, whether it's an OSO or my own private. Even in the OSO world, you can get partnered in and all that. So that's something that I'm looking at as well. But I'm kind of gonna let like nature take its place and
Yeah.
let live my life a little and see how it all goes. But I would love, I mean, there's so many benefits from having like financially, like there's a lot of write-offs. One of my faculty always jokes about, like owner when you have like an owner of a practice, like everything you buy is like there's financial benefits to being an owner for sure.
Okay. Something I did learn about OSOs, I don't know if they're all like this, but I heard that you can buy equity into them, but it's never like a true partnership. So maybe not all OSOs are like that, but that's something to consider.
So
That's something I recently learned.
it's funny because it's so there's so much like people speak about it all the time, but it's hard to really say exactly how these business models work. But
So we
yes,
don't know.
a lot of them have stock options where you're buying stock in the company. Like this is what I've heard. Like I can't tell you
Yeah.
how true any of that is, but yeah,
Well, now that we're wrapping up, how do you feel about graduation? And what advice do you have for me and all the other incoming orthodontic residents?
that you're starting.
Yeah.
So my best advice for you would be like for us at Eastman specifically, we have so many faculties. So like that's such a pro because they all do different things and there's so many different philosophies. Like there's Damon, as you know, and we have faculty that practice like the Damon philosophy, and it's great to learn from them because they're very specific. We have faculty that are Tweed faculty, which they tend to do like extractions a lot. And so I would say try everything. Keep an open mind. Like don't I think that's a mistake that I made is I maybe got too opinionated too early on. And so maybe I like push things away that maybe were acceptable. And then when you get into like class two correction, this is kind of weirdly specific, but I'm gonna just tell you anyways. When you get into correcting class two, try like try every appliance. Like don't just be like, oh, I love the Herbst appliance. I'm gonna for the rest of my life, I'm gonna do the Herbst because when you go out and look for a job, like some people don't use the Herbst or some people don't use forces or you know what I mean? So if you
Hmm.
have a little bit of experience with everything, you're bettering yourself for potential jobs like with brackets like or systems like MBT is something sorry I'm getting very ortho specific but hopefully people have ortho knowledge but MBT is a prescription and a lot of residencies do a lot of MBT and okay yes those and that's kind of like the standard it seems a lot of people do practice that but a lot of people practice PITS 21, which is a newer thing. And if you have experience with PITS 21, then you don't have to say no to the practices. Because, like, let's say you have a practice in your dream location with like the greatest owner ever, and he wants to sell it to you, and that's what you want, and you're going to work there for 3 years, and everything's perfect. But then the bracket system is not what you want. Like that to me, like obviously I would say don't let that dictate anything. Like don't let that make
Hmm.
dictate a decision, but it's nice if you're familiar with everything so you don't close the door.
So the bracket system chooses you. You don't choose the bracket system in the end
I,
unless you have your own office.
there's a guy named Neil Kravitz. It's funny to name drop somebody, but Neil Kravitz is the editor of the JCO.
Hmm.
And I think that a lot of people really look up to him. He's on YouTube too. We're hyping him up now. He
Yeah.
has like he has daily clinical pearls, and I actually listen to them. They're very very good. I do recommend them. And he talked about this a lot, and exactly what we were just talking about. And if you listen to him, I think that'll help as well.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Corey. It was an honor having you on here. We'll wrap this up. Unless you have any other final words of advice, I'll also link your Instagram below.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me. Good luck with residency, Erica. I know you're gonna kill it. That'll be fun. And I think we have 2 weeks together, so that'll be cool. You're gonna crush it. And to everybody, I guess listening, ortho's great. Follow your passions, and it'll all work out.
Perfect. Thank you.